This call is now being recorded.
My name is Rosado, and I'm speaking to you from the St. Lucie County Jail in Fort Pierce, Florida, where I've been incarcerated for more than 2 years since October of 2019. Today's date is November 1st, 2021. The case I'm fighting here is actually 5 years old from 2016, yet I've still not been informed of the nature or the cause of the charges against me. I haven't seen any discovery documents either, so this violates the Sixth Amendment to the United States Constitution. The alleged victims here include the prosecutor and the sheriff who runs this jail. So needless to say, they have an unfair advantage, and the jail officers have abused the power they have by confiscating my legal documents and tampering with my legal mail. It's pretty crazy. But that's not what I'm here to discuss today. I'll get to that another time. I'm actually here to talk about the 40-year sentence I received from Lee County in a related case to show you the lies and corruption used by the state of Florida and its crooked judicial system. I'll discuss other things too, like jail life and anything else that comes to mind. So I guess this will be my jailhouse podcast or audio diary or something like that. So let's call this episode 1. I'll probably make a bunch of recordings before posting them because the jail may decide to take away my phone privileges, just for exercising my freedom of speech, which is frowned upon around here. I've already been thrown in confinement for filing a complaint with the governor of Florida, which means I get locked into a cell for 24 hours a day except for the 15-minute shower twice a week. I'm also being targeted by one of the jail captains who ordered the removal of my court documents and recently placed me and my cellmates in lockdown without any written reason explaining what jail policy we actually violated. Anyway, that's why I'm apprehensive about making these recorded calls public too soon. It's bad enough that I've been falsely in prison for more than 5.5 years, or not quite 5.5 years, but definitely over 5 years. But either way, I don't want to be in jail while I'm inside of jail already, because it's clear that these people can do whatever they want and get away with it. But I'm just sick of the lies that have been told about me since going back to June 28, 2016, when the FBI and Florida and New York authorities invaded my apartment while my wife and I were sleeping. We were living in the village of Goshen in Orange County, New York at the time. To this day, I still have not seen the arrest report. The village of Goshen Police Department has refused to provide a copy despite many Freedom of Information Act requests. Actually, I can't tell you who actually arrested me because some reports from the Florida prosecutor say it was the FBI, but then the testimony from the Florida investigator says it was the village of Goshen Police Department. Now, in statements by the FBI and that same investigator, they both say that they entered my apartment while we were sleeping using keys from the landlord. So basically, they confirmed it was an illegal entry without a warrant. But I remember it like it was yesterday. I was sleeping on the couch in our living room because it was hot in the bedroom. My wife and I had been drinking some wine the night before, so I got up in the middle of the night to get some water. I must have fallen back asleep on the couch. So at 6 a.m., it was still dark, and I heard noises in the home, people walking around my home, and I woke up to an FBI SWAT team shining flashlights in my face and aiming their guns at me and screaming. There were probably at least 5 of them at first, and that's including the Orange County, New York authorities and the Florida agents, which also included a guy named Robert Foley, who was a retired FBI agent. He became a prosecutor for the Lee County State Attorney. Foley uses FBI contacts to orchestrate this whole thing, the illegal entry, the unlawful arrest, the subsequent search after that. But I'll tell you more about Foley later, what I discovered about him. So anyway, the FBI took me into custody, made me get dressed, brought me down to the street level from our second-floor apartment. We lived on Main Street, so this was early morning with rush hour traffic, so it was pretty embarrassing. Then when the FBI got me down to the street, they removed the handcuffs and turned me over to the village of Goshen police, who cuffed me and brought me to the police station, which was literally right across the street. I mean, I could probably hit the station with a rock from my bedroom window. It was so close. And I believe the Goshen officer who took me into custody was Officer Gregory Kelman. I never saw the arrest report to say for sure. I think that was the name that I had in a civil rights complaint I filed in New York Southern District. Actually, at first, I had named Keith Wilkerson for some reason, but I'm not really sure why. Maybe I saw that name on the desk at the police station. But anyway, I know the lawsuit was amended to correct the name. However, it was Detective Ryan Rich of the Village of Goshen PD I remember the most because he was calling the shots at the station and helping this arresting officer write the secret arrest report that has been hidden from me and the public for all this time. So from there, Detective Rich and the arresting officer took me before the Village of Goshen Judge Rory Brady to have me arraigned before I was taken to the Orange County Jail where I resided for about 91 days. Now, I only recently learned some details about the New York arrest because unlike the Goshen police, the jail actually complied with the Freedom of Information Act request. They gave me all the documents they had available from my arrest, incarceration, and then extradition to Florida. Unfortunately, that didn't include the actual report, but it does confirm the illegal arrest and false imprisonment. So it's taken more than 5 years to get this, and 2 years after my conviction in Lee County, but now I have proof that I was kidnapped and delivered to Florida for a fabricated case in malicious prosecution. And listen, I'm not asking you to take my word on any of this. I can show you all the documents for anyone who's interested. Because you see, unlike Florida officials who use the media to spread their massive lies about me, I can back up everything I'm saying. All the documents in the Lee County case are available. You can see exactly what happened in the courtroom at trial. You can see the pre-trial hearings. All the motions are there. And now I can see why this Ryan Rich character and the law enforcement and all the FBI agents from the New York arrest, now I know why they didn't participate in the prosecution or testify at trial or anything, because they knew they were wrong. They knew they screwed up. And you can check all these documents out at Randall Rosado. That's Randall with one L, RANDAL, ROSADO.blogspot.com. And they might also be available at randyrosado.com or randallrosado.com. They may point to that as well. But anyway, the information was available thanks to the effort of my family and friends, and especially my mother, who's been by my side relentlessly seeking justice. I'm so blessed for such a strong mother, and she just hasn't given up on me. So, it's a great blessing. But I've been disowned by many family members and people I thought were my friends because they all believed the lies about me in the news. My wife left me after being threatened by the prosecutor. She was unlawfully arrested and forced to give a statement without being read her rights before she was finally released. And this is on video, but it was never used because it was illegally obtained, but I still have a copy. So I'm disgusted at the lies I've read and heard about me on the internet. For instance, in the Wink News, I think Wink News is out in Fort Myers or whatever, in a Wink News story by Sabrina Lolo, she claimed I was charged with mail fraud and forging real estate deeds in several Florida counties. None of that is true, as anyone can see if they look at the charges in my case. First off, mail fraud is a federal offense, and this isn't a federal case. The FBI's involvement was basically a favor to Robert Foley, the retired agent I've mentioned, who worked as a state prosecutor for Lee County. And as to the forgery lie, not only was I not charged with such a thing, the state failed to produce a single real estate deed in any county that was allegedly forged. It was all a smokescreen. And obviously, Ms. Lolo doesn't bother fact-checking the lies that she prints, and her stories are dictated by the state attorney's office. The heading called me a man with a history of fraud, which is funny because my only prior conviction was a misdemeanor driving offense in New York in 1991, a few days after I turned 18. But now all of a sudden I'm this big-time criminal with a history of fraud? Come on, man. Then I was called a sovereign citizen, a domestic terrorist. They even went as far to compare me to Terry Nichols, who was the man who was convicted for assisting Timothy McVeigh in the Oklahoma City bombing in 1995. I mean, where the hell did all this come from? They also said I was charged with creating a fake court, another lie that doesn't reflect the actual charges. But I kept relatively silent because I still had faith in the justice system, and I thought I would get relief at the District Court of Appeal. I detailed all of the constitutional violations, but apparently these Florida judges all stick together. And even if the bullshit and lies were true, or if I was accused of freaking murder, I would still be entitled to due process and a fair trial, which just didn't happen. Actually, accused murderers and child molesters are treated more fairly than I've been. I was completely railroaded and screwed by a corrupt system. But I know God has a reason for everything, and I could only trust and accept His plan for my life. I have faith that the truth will set me free, especially now that I have physical evidence of perjury and proof of the lies and all the other crimes committed by the prosecution and state employees. So the truth always comes to light. But for now, I can only make the best of the circumstances and continue to count my blessings. I'm healthy and safe for the most part, and usually had access to study the law and learn from the Khan Academy, which is pretty cool. I'm actually blown away by the Sal Khan and what he created, because I'd heard about it years ago, but never knew how great it really was. I'm learning so much about business and finance and history and art and just about any subject you can think of. So, I read lots of books. I exercise regularly. Things could definitely be worse, and life is what you make of it. I choose to have an attitude of gratitude and remain hopeful for the future. It's not always easy, but that gets me through most days. Just waking up is a blessing. Quite a few people I know have passed away since I've been locked up. People my age or even younger. And some people listening to this may have been through the jail or prison system or have loved ones here, so you can relate. This could happen to anyone, and your life can change in an instant. My favorite jail officer here found himself in a jail cell after an altercation with another inmate. So, this isn't, this can happen. And I'm going to try to share some important information, because if the state or federal government wants you, they'll get you. And believe me, they don't play fair. Some of the biggest criminals in this country wear badges and have law degrees, and they have the judges on their side. So it's important to know your rights and protect yourself the best you can. Because never in a million years did I imagine this could happen to me. I've always tried to be a law-abiding citizen, and yet I spent most of my 40s locked up fighting for my freedom. So now I've seen firsthand that this is just a big money game. Jails and prisons are a huge business, especially in Florida. There are actually more prisons than high schools. There are more than 120 prisons, and that doesn't include nearly as many county jails throughout the 67 counties. I suspect that the jail and prison, the jails and prisons here generate more money than tourism. If not, it's probably a close second. Every day I see people thrown in jail on petty charges and held for months or even years. So it's been quite a wake-up call. In St. Lucie County, the system moves so slow, and they just keep making money off you. So, people are encouraged to accept deals. But I've also seen violent offenders receive light sentences that are a fraction of the 4-year life sentence that I received for paperwork filed by someone else. So although the charges against me carried 5 years, they were able to manipulate the sentence to 40 years by stacking the offenses in violation of double jeopardy. All because the alleged victims were judges. No money was taken from anyone, and there were no damages. So this abuse of power should be investigated. But I'm far from alone, and people are wrongly convicted all the time by judges who think they can play God, who is the greatest judge of all. And these men will one day have to answer to the true God. So, their time will come. But for anyone else who's in this struggle, don't give up. Even those who are not locked up, I know that you're probably doing time with your loved ones. Just like my mother was certainly doing the time with me, and it's her strength that really inspires me to keep fighting. But anyway, that's it for now. I'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you for